Hi, and welcome to this week's Wu Wei Wisdom Life Lessons teaching. It's great to be back with you all. Now, have you ever caught yourself saying, if only I was a little bit better, smarter, stronger, more perfect, then I would be worthy, loved, and safe? Well, today we are going to be discussing why perfection is not the path to peace, freedom, or the way of the Tao. And you'll learn how to gently let go of perfection, embrace your true self, and flow with life. Okay, David, now I know you work with a lot of clients every week who struggle with the idea of perfection and worthiness. What's the origin of this problem?
Well, it would be what we would call the inner child. And for those of you new to this teaching, when we speak about the inner child, we're speaking about part of your psyche, part of your subconscious that was developed around the ages of 6 or 9 years old. And this, to me, when I work with clients, seems a very important time. This is the time when you're starting to develop your cognitive awareness of the universe, of reality, of the things around you, your family, your friends, but you haven't quite developed a broader view, a view that's steeped in understanding how the world works. You're still working from a childlike point of view, which is always the extreme. So the childlike point of view is always, I think about a pendulum. It's always the two ends of the pendulum. So I must be perfect or I'm not good enough. Something is bad or it's very good. Something is right or it's wrong. And so you're still viewing life from those two extremes. And then, of course, this idea that if something goes wrong, if you receive criticism, maybe from your parents, family members, or teachers, the inner child then develops this belief, this thought process. If I was perfect, then I would not receive criticism. And so this belief, even though you mature fully, this belief, I like what the Taoists call it. It's like a kernel in the middle of a nut. This belief still stays there all through your life. And so you end up and you find yourself striving for perfection without accepting fully 100%. Perfection does not exist. Perfection is a perception. There is no such thing as perfection, and you never fully accept that.
Okay, so if that inner child part of us, our mind in adulthood believes that it needs to be loved more, to be more worthy, to be better in order to be safe, in order to be enough. What's the kind of spiritual truth here, David, in terms of the Taoist teaching?
Well, the Taoist teaching is the direct opposite. It's a counterpoint to that, is you are already enough. We have innate, inherent spiritual worth and value. It is not something that somebody else can give you. It's not something that you can earn. It's not a material thing that somebody can add on to, make you more worthy, or take away from you, make you less worthy. And again, that part of your mind that we call in the inner child does not want to accept that because it's still looking at things in extreme. But if I was more worthy, if I was better, if I was perfect, if I was top of the class, if I was number one, then everybody would love me. Everything would go my way. I would never have any problems. Everybody would adore me. I'd always be successful. I'd be earning the most money. I'd be the most beautiful, etc., etc., etc. But unfortunately, in reality, that never works. And so, like a dog chasing its tail, it's constantly striving and on the carousel of despair.
Okay, so David, the idea of the Taoist concept of Shen, our spiritual essence, our spiritual worth, can you talk a little bit more about that and how I guess, the inner child's disrespecting of ourselves, constant comparing, criticizing of ourselves, disconnects us from that spiritual truth, or our Shen spirituality.
So that's the word I like to use, that disconnection word. I think that's a very important word, because the Shen doesn't go away. The Shen is almost the opposite. The Shen doesn't keep score. It doesn't make you pay. It's not going to criticize you. It's not going to pay you. It's not going to be judgmental. It just waits for you to reconnect. So when you don't reconnect, when you're off on a different road, when you're chasing your tail, when you're thinking in the material world that through social media you have to be better, you have to have more, the Shen doesn't put up a fight. It doesn't give you the counter argument. It kind of waits patiently for you to reconnect. It waits patiently for you to come back to who you are. And the metaphor I use in this teaching, and you've heard me use it before, it's almost like if you think about a newborn baby, still connected to the umbilical cord. The midwife doesn't hold the baby up in the delivery room and says, "Quick, can somebody give this baby some worth and value?" We have it innate. That baby has worth and value. And you are that baby. This is something that you've got. You could call it your birthright. And it's on a different level to somebody liking you. It's on a different level to somebody approving of you. You don't need validation because you're already valuable. Nobody can give you more value. Nobody can take value away from you. It's on a completely different plane. It's on a different understanding. And this is the difference in the Wu Wei Wisdom teaching model. The basis of the model is spiritual, not religious, nothing to do with God, nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with the supernatural. It's saying that you have innate spirituality and it's your birthright. And you can't give it away. You can't add to it. Somebody can't take it away from you and somebody can't give it back to you.
So, David, everything you've just said makes sense there. We can kind of keep telling ourselves, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough. Stop criticizing myself, stop believing in myself. But it never really sticks. We can buy in. We innately know that this idea of Shen and our true value is correct. But the inner child just doesn't buy into it if we just push kind of logic on top of it. What do we need to tell our inner child in order for it to drop this striving for perfectionism?
Such a good question, Alex. So that's why the golden thread process is so powerful. Because when you're misaligned, when the inner child is chasing the illusion of perfection, it knows it doesn't exist. It knows it's an illusion. What is perfect? Who's judging perfection? How do you know you're perfect? So it knows it's on that road. But I always say you cannot change a belief unless, first of all, you understand it. So this is what we're doing now, trying to understand it, seeing if you agree, or maybe you don't agree. Maybe you think perfection is something that you can judge, and who's judging it? So you can't change your belief unless you first understand it and then accept it. So this is the number one thing that I find when I'm working with clients. They can very quickly understand it and very quickly agree with the teaching, but then we have to understand why the inner child will not accept it. Now, the normal reason is that it believes that somebody else holds the power, external approval, external love, external validation. It hasn't accepted, or maybe doesn't want to accept, that all of those qualities come from within. It's always looking outside, because this happens in that period I spoke about between the ages of 6 and 9 years old. It would value so much a hug from their mother or father, or some praise, or just a smile. What it didn't like was a scowl, even a glance that is not approved of, because at that age, it is looking for external. validation, and it hasn't made that change. It hasn't accepted that validation can only come from within.
Wow, I mean, David, that is so powerful, because essentially what you're saying is, right, we've been doing this wrong. It's understandable that when we were children, we looked externally for feedback, approval, love, strokes, to be told we're a good boy or a good girl, or we're doing the right thing. But now we're adults. We need to own responsibility and give ourselves permission to say, I am enough. I am on the right track. I am trying my best. I don't know everything. I am learning. I am making mistakes. This is perfectly natural. But, a lot of people have never taken back that ownership. And I can sense that it's radical. It's radical that the first person you look to when you have a needling of self-doubt, or a needling of like, oh, I'm not sure about this, is to self-refer, is to assure oneself, is to comfort oneself, is to say, I'm doing my best, I'm learning here, this is a learning opportunity, this too will pass, all the things. And in doing so, we are reassuring the inner child that we are working together as a team.
And that's why the metaphor of the inner child, I believe, is so powerful. It's not perfect. There's lots of gaps in the thought of the inner child. But what the inner child has done, following this perfection route, it's created a separation. So it stops trusting itself. And think about it. Have you ever said or even thought to yourself, I don't trust myself? And then immediately when you say that part of your psyche, because of the extremes, what's it going to do? If it can't trust you, it's going to look elsewhere. It's going to look for others that it can trust. And of course, it's constantly let down, and then it creates a red light feeling. And this is part of your psyche, your inner child, being stuck, being lost, being on the carousel, going round and around, not knowing the way out because someone hasn't come back to them and sat with them and explained this teaching. And when they don't accept it, which they're entitled not to, is to ask them, why don't you want to accept this, sweetheart? What is it about this teaching that you now understand, but you're not going to accept? So I'm going to give you the main reasons. Number one, without a doubt, this is the main reason. Because chasing my tail, looking outside, is familiar. And that sounds a very kind of gentle word. But for the inner child, something that's familiar is extremely powerful. Now, you may use the word habit, or you may say it's my nature. No, it's a choice that you're making, not because it's successful, because it's familiar. Secondly, it's trying to avoid being externally criticized. Now, for the inner child, it's almost acceptable to criticize the adult. It's you, there's something wrong with you, or itself, because that's internal. What it doesn't want is external, what we call CCJ. Criticizing, comparing, oh, look at them, they're doing much better than me. Or being judgmental. I could have done better. I should have done better. I made a mistake here. So in a kind of perverse way, it does to itself what it's trying to stop other people doing. And this becomes so familiar, so baked in, that it's so hard for it to change.
Okay, David. So I guess also as part of this, we need to, first convince ourselves as the wise parent who's talking to our inner child that the benefits of dropping the perfection, if we're to convince or guide the inner child to let go of the familiar, we need to be very aware of the benefits of just being okay with things as they are, just being okay with ourselves as not kind of king of the heap. And that I guess to teach the inner child that it's, as you said near the beginning, perfection is an illusion, and all the stuff we see in social media and in our culture about, image, identity, status, it's false insofar as it doesn't have the intrinsic value and peace and deep resonance and deep truth and deep authenticity that just connecting more with our Shen spirituality, who we really are, getting to know who we really are, because we've probably neglected that journey of discovery somehow all the years because we've been so striving for perfection. That new journey, that new path to discovering who I am, what I enjoy, what my skills are, what my preferences are, what I have to offer the world, how do I create joy and happiness for myself. That is available to us if we stop the striving for external validation and the perfectionism route.
You're so right, Alex. It starts with the adult part of us and to understanding the adult part of you. Do you believe that perfection is a perception? Or do you believe it's achievable? Are you, what's that saying? The grass is always greener. Are you always chasing that carrot like the donkey? Are you always thinking, well, if I had this, if I did this, if I moved this, if I changed jobs, if I changed houses, if I did something more, then I would be happy. Then I would be satisfied. Then everything in my life would be okay. Do you believe that piece that Alex has just mentioned is something that comes from external sources, or is that something that you create yourself? And that is the power of this teaching. You are the creator of your emotions. So if you're searching for love, for peace, for happiness, for joy, whatever in your life, first of all, that is not something that's given to you externally. That's something that you have to create. And if you're not creating it, then you have to work on what it is that's stopping you creating it. So the adult self has to agree with this principle before it can teach the inner child. Remember, understanding it is one thing. Understanding this and saying, yeah, you're kind of right, David, I see what it doesn't make sense. But accepting it, owning it, if you prefer, is a totally different thing. And you, as a parent, as a teacher, cannot reparent your child unless you absolutely 100% that we are on a fool's errand. We are just chasing our tail. This will never be successful. Yes, we'll change our job. But what happens? Within a year, 2 years, you're equally unhappy. Yes, we'll change our house. Yes, we'll change our relationship. Whatever. You're always looking for this external fix that's going to make it right for you. And that's the first step. First of all, you have to be clear on yourself that you are already enough. You already have everything you need. You are divine. You are awesome already. Now reconnect to that. Then you're in a position to answer the inner child's questions, because there's only you can do that. It's you and the inner child have to come together in a oneness, and you have to be able to answer their questions that they've been searching for all of their lives, this external validation. You have to be able to explain to it that nobody can validate you, nobody can give you what you already have.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. And I will put links in the show notes to extra teaching playlists that will help you with this topic. So that's more teachings on perfectionism, teachings on the inner child and inner child reparenting, and also teachings on the Shen and connecting to your authenticity. Essentially, perfection isn't peace, it's a burden. So we really need to shake it off and get back on our authentic track. If you have enjoyed this teaching today, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe. We would really, really appreciate it. Next week, David is producing a brand new, beautiful guided meditation to help you with this same subject. So do tune in for that. If you'd like to work one-to-one with David on any of the issues we've talked about today, David works by Zoom video call with clients all over the world every week. Check out the link in the show notes for more information on that. And David is also now producing a beautiful Substack blog, a free blog, where he posts several posts every week. So do subscribe for that. The link is also in the show notes. We look forward to sharing with you again very soon. Bye-bye.